Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Guten Morgen. Good morning.
Guten Morgen miteinander. Good morning, Lucas. How are you doing?
Nice singing, Lee. Nice singing.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, all good. The sun is shining. It's Friday. Feeling good vibes. Looking forward to today's show. So,
It's a beautiful day.
Exactly. Welcome to everybody watching. Hope that you can, as always, hear us and see us fine. Let us know where you're watching from. Drop a like, drop a hi. Would be great to hear from you all. So, as always, welcome to everyone. Welcome to my guest Lucas. My co-host, I should say, is a better terminology of the Ask a Recruiter series. These sessions are all about different topics around recruitment, sometimes towards candidates, giving advice on how to navigate the recruitment landscape, how to find an easier way of getting a job, finding work, connecting with recruiters. We've done a couple of sessions already. One was around the do's and don'ts of working with headhunters. We did a live CV review, which was a lot of fun. Really cool experience, right, Lucas?
Yeah, that was great.
And today's topic is more focused towards the recruiters, talent acquisition and HR connections and network that we have, and talking about interviewing techniques, interviewing like a professional, drawing on our combined 20 years of recruitment experience. And as always, we love to hear your inputs, your thoughts, your advice as well. Sharing is caring. I took that one from my daughter. She tells me that, especially when it comes to Swiss chocolate and sweets. So before jumping into the session as well, so we've got those other videos from previous. Don't be scared, people. I'm going to speak German for a second. For euch alle, wo Deutsch könnt, gehen wir mal zum Lucas Training auf YouTube. Da hat's so viel coole verschiedene Videos von Lucas über alles, was gibt's. Über alles, Career, Motivation. Ich glaube, wie viele Videos hast du da, Lucas, ungefähr?
Ja, es sind jetzt etwa 160, glaube ich. Aber ich mache im Moment keine neue.
Yeah,
keine neue im Moment, aber
genau.
Still 160 are up there. So many topics are covered. So.
Absolutely. So if you want some advice and fantastic insights, tips, go to YouTube, check out Lucas' training, enjoy, and make sure you drop a like and let him know. So, alrighty. Let us jump into the show, jump into the questions. We have a whole bunch of questions prepared, but as always, feel free, please, to ask your questions. We'd love to hear from you, interact with you on this. Let us know that you're watching as well. So, machen wir weiter. Let's go. All right. Keep it nice and easy. Lucas, for the first one, let's go in. Tell us a bit about how do you prepare for a candidate interview? What do you do as a recruiter to get yourself ready?
Well, what do I do? I mean, besides having a look at their CV and dossier and stuff, that's pretty obvious. I always ask myself the question, what questions are sure to come my way? So what are like the typical questions, or what questions will the candidate be asking, like to 99%? And then I prepare these questions. So at the moment, for example, I am back at the head of sales position. I'm recruiting a head of sales, and they have some very, like common questions, like what is the USP of the company? What is the unique selling proposition? Because these guys will go out into the market and they will tell their potential clients about the USP. So they really need to know it's crucial for them. Or maybe what does the organization look like? What are the KPIs going to be like? And so forth. And so I always sit down and I think, what is this candidate most likely going to ask me about this position? And then I will take notes so that I am prepared. And if they see that I know what I'm talking about and that I really provide them with the information that they are really looking for, they will start to feel comfortable, and they will loosen up, and they will tell me everything that I want to know. So this is how I prepare.
I think it's a good point. It's a great sign of if how good a recruiter is, and at the same time how strong the relationship is with the client as to how much information they can actually share with a candidate about the opportunity, the company, the culture, all of these elements. The more they know, clearly the more plugged in they are with the client, with the opportunity, and better chance of being able to find someone an opportunity and to match that, basically. What about on the because that's a bit more on the kind of client side of things. What about the so you check out the CV? Is there other things that you do? I think a lot of recruiters probably, and I think a few people out there would have to put their hand up and say, okay, they probably look at the CV maybe 5 minutes before and then just start go into the conversation. But I mean, other than kind of going through the CV, is there other things you do, preparation on the candidate side as well? Or
yeah, sure. I mean, I really prepare. Maybe that's the best answer I can give. So I don't think it's a good idea to grab the CV 5 minutes before the talk. I think it's not worth our profession. Of course, it can happen. I mean, we all know daily business, of course, and but to me, the candidate is the most important person. To me, he or she is even more important than the paying customer. And I really focus on the candidate. So I think it's really important for me to take time and really read through his CV and his references. And so I am in tech recruiting now, really go through his repositories on GitHub and really look what this lady or this guy has done in the past. And this will give me the right questions, and it will create a great atmosphere for the conversation and will bring us both into a flow. So I cannot specifically answer, but I just want to stress out how important preparation is.
No, I agree. I think.
Do you have any specifics?
I think obviously I'm recruiting recruiters, so it's a bit of a special niche. I mean, I always go on the LinkedIn profile. I want to have a look on the LinkedIn. I look at are there any recommendations? I look at what they're following. Interests, companies, things like that. That maybe gives me a bit of a picture. Perhaps, I'm always looking for ways to connect with people. Do we have some common hobby, interest, whatever it may be? Maybe I see they follow a football club that I either like or dislike or whatever, and it can create some good banter, good exchanges. I don't do it every time, but I do like to Google people. To put in Google, see if something comes up. Maybe a video, maybe they're doing sports and other things at a good level, and you start to see some other insights. So I think that's probably my thing. Take my time to go through the CV. With a focus as well. I love to see, okay, what are your hobbies? What are you into? How can I kind of build a deeper relationship with you, not just on a professional level? LinkedIn, Google search, I love to be able to kind of, I guess, either impress or make people think I'm a scary stalker. But I say, I saw you're into photography. I love the pictures you did around that. They're like, what? So yeah, I'd say those are the things that I do to prepare.
Nice. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, let us know what do you to those watching, what do you do to prepare? Anything we've missed, anything you'd like to add as well. But in an interview itself, Lucas, what are you looking for specifically? What's the key things you're focusing on?
Yeah, I think what I'm specifically looking for in a candidate interview is that now let me be a bit, you know, um, maybe it sounds a bit ridiculous now, but what
Yeah.
I'm looking for is like that magic moment. So
Hmm.
where, how can I describe it? It's like the moment where like everything cracks up. So
Hmm.
like where the person really is forgetting that he or she's in a job interview and
Hmm.
she's just telling about herself or what she
Hmm.
loves,
Hmm.
and she's kind of coming into that flow, and it's
Yeah.
starting to be a conversation instead of
Yeah.
an interview. And I'm really always specifically looking for this moment.
Yeah. Yeah, where it just switches from questions and answers
Yeah,
to just into a flow, into a flow.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
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 What are
Okay.
you looking for, Lee?
Um, I guess there's a few things. I always try to look for a story. You know, the person's story.
Hmm.
What has brought them to the point now? Something that I can sell also, you know, to my clients and going forward. Something that I can
Hmm.
believe in and buy into. Um, So, you know, really getting to know the person, the motivation. It's like you say, getting past a question and answer into really, you know, deeper and learning more about the person. What gets them up in the morning, what really motivates them and drives them. Um, but yeah, getting to know the person, getting that story, something that I can buy into. And I always say to candidates that if they want a recruiter to really work hard for them, that recruiter needs to buy into their story. That recruiter needs to believe in them. They need to be there saying, "I really want to help this person in that." You know, be the next part of that story or part of that journey. Let's say.
That's fantastic. I love this. The
Yeah.
story is so important. I mean, because it doesn't matter if you are like a recruiter in an agency or if you are an
Hmm.
in-house recruiter.
Yeah.
In the end, you have had a candidate interview, and
Hmm.
then it goes to a next level. Maybe you have to sell the profile to an external company, or
Hmm.
you have to sell the profile internally, maybe
Yeah.
to a line manager or the CEO or whoever. And
Hmm.
then it's all about stories. You really have to come up with a good story. If
Yeah.
you think this is the right person and you are convinced
Hmm.
that this person has to have the job, you have to tell a story to the next person. You have to sell
Yeah.
it. And I really love your answer, man. It's
Yeah.
this is really important to specifically look for the story behind
Yeah.
the person.
People buy into it. You know, it's
Yeah,
how we emotionally connect to things. I
yeah.
remember when I was in Amsterdam for SourceCon a couple of years ago. So
Hmm.
the kind of sourcing and recruitment convention. Um, and you know the theme there, and I think over the last couple of years within recruitment, within
Hmm.
sourcing, within attraction of talent and everything, like storytelling has been one of the biggest things. I think companies, you know, trying to win talent and find people for their opportunities need to
Yeah.
sell a story, something that people can emotionally connect to and buy into. And I think it's a big part of what we do. So they need to sell their story to you, and you need to sell the story of the client and a manager and opportunity that's there.
I think what we have here is also a great piece of advice for people who are now in a job interview process as
Hmm.
a candidate.
Hmm.
Like, really, I mean, extract a list of like the key competences that you need for the job, but not
Hmm.
only do this, but also connect those keywords with stories. Like, really
Hmm.
think about it. So when it comes, let's say, to procurement, what
Yeah.
success stories do I have in that field of work? And really write it down. And then you can go very relaxed into a job interview because you know what you can tell. And
Hmm.
the the interview turns into a dialogue, and you
Yeah.
can tell stories, and people are like, oh, very interesting. So what did you do then? And then
Yeah.
you have a nice talk about stuff
Yeah.
that you are good at.
Yeah. And it helps you be prepared for if a question comes up that you can link to a story, and then you know it's much nicer to listen to a story than an answer, as long as it's not 20 minutes long. But that's
No, but
uh,
if we think back, to our time at school, so
mhm,
what stuck in our mind is not like like the formula that the teacher has written on the
Mm,
blackboard. It's not that. It's the story he told around it. I think
mm,
we all remember stories from our school time, so it's
mhm.
definitely psychologically a thing that
Yeah,
works.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, so tell us, Lucas, what is your favorite question or questions to ask? What's your go-to? What can every candidate expect to hear from you in an interview?
Yeah, the salary question? No. Um, Apart from the salary question,
Yeah.
a question that I really like asking is how to say it in English. I would say, what boxes does this role have to tick for you so that you can be happy for a long, long time? This is a question that I always ask. And then
Okay.
people come up with what they really want.
Yeah.
And mostly it's like 3 or 4 points they're
Hmm.
telling me. And then I start exploring. Then on those specific points, I will start exploring and ask more open questions. Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
let's say if some guy says, I really want a challenging environment.
Hmm.
And then I go like, oh, that's interesting. So can you describe it a bit more to me? So what do you
Hmm.
exactly mean by a challenging environment? What does a
Hmm.
challenging environment provide to you
Hmm.
that you call it challenging? And
Yeah.
then he will start talking, and then
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
getting interesting. I think that would be my one question that I always ask.
Yeah. That's a good one. I think, there's so many different layers to it. It helps you understand about motivation, perhaps what's lacking in their current situation, what the culture and environment needs to be going forward. So I think that's a really good one. I think if I would talk about my favorite question, um, one that I always like to ask, and I think you can probably wrap it into a couple of different things. I especially ask it in certain situations, but what I do like to ask is, in hindsight, if you were to start
Mhm,
in your current position again,
mhm,
what would you do differently?
mm,
Um,
mm,
I love asking this question when somebody, especially if somebody has been unfortunate enough to be let go, to be sacked. It happens. Or that they've already resigned, or they're extremely unhappy, because that
mhm,
means there needs to be a change. And if I'm asking the question, what would you do differently? It gives me the opportunity to understand how how is their self reflection? Are they
mhm,
putting everything on it's everyone else's fault? What's the
mhm,
accountability that they take?
mhm,
And you know, again, ties into so many different areas of motivation. Um, it can also be that I ask somebody who is, in their current job at the moment and simply now considering new opportunities. It's still a great question to ask. So, rewind
Fantastic.
2 years ago, 3 years ago, what would you do differently knowing what you know today? Yeah,
Fantastic.
love
I
it.
love it. I love it because it also is an open question. I think
Hmm.
that's one of the most important techniques in any way to ask open questions.
Hmm.
And second, I love it because the candidate has to describe a scenario.
Yeah.
And I love questions that, like lead into the person telling about a scenario. Here we are again with
Hmm.
the story and so on. It's
Hmm.
just,
Hmm.
I really love it. Great
Yeah.
question, Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, perfect. So,
Mm,
one thing often asked actually as recruiters, and I think it's not the easiest thing, let's say, to answer, but how do you go about checking for soft skill? Where what do you pick up on? Do you have any specific techniques, or how do you check?
Uh, I think I repeat myself for the first time now, but ask open questions again
Yeah.
and let him or her describe scenarios.
Hmm.
Sometimes I have some little questions that I keep at hand, like, for example, how would you explain this to a friendly, curious grandmother?
Yeah.
Or um, or just, yeah, just let's go back to the scenarios. Like, what
Hmm.
did you do when you were getting no credits for your work, for
Yeah.
example? Or how do you deal with a surprising situation? like
Mm-hmm.
just again, like really summon that scenario again, so that he or she really has to really tell me a story. I think
Yeah.
because these kind of questions, they tell you a lot about the soft skill of people. Are they communicative? Are they empathetic? Are they
Mm-hmm.
like self-focused all the
Yeah.
time? It's as you described before. It's how they speak to you. You really
Mm-hmm.
have to listen very, very carefully, and of course, it takes a lot of experience, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we probably take, after a certain amount of years of experience, you probably take some of it for granted. It's so, we're so used to listening to people, and we're so observant of so many
Mhm,
different things, right? You're looking at the body language, the tone of their voice, the
mhm,
words that they're using. It's something I often hear with recruiters, and something it raises huge alarm bells as soon as somebody says, "I don't mind doing cold calls," or "I don't mind doing business development." It's just the psychology around the wording of "don't mind," as opposed to "I enjoy" or "I'm good at it" or something like that. "I don't mind" implies to me I don't want to do it. I don't enjoy
mhm,
doing it, and so even the wording that people are using in general, gives you a bigger picture about
mhm.
the person. So for me, it's about wording, it's about body language, tonality, everything together, I would say. Yeah.
Do we have any comments or not yet?
Not yet. I was asking if people what their favorite question is to ask. I would love
Uh-huh.
to hear a couple from the
Maybe
people watching. Yeah.
I was watching some LinkedIn live sessions by
Yeah.
others recently,
Mhm.
and maybe we should do that too. Like we start off with like, "Hi everyone, who is there? Please tell us
Yeah. Yeah.
hello. Say hello. Come on!" And
Yeah.
then, "Hi Robert. Hi
Yeah. Yeah.
Louisa." Maybe we should do that too. Then we would get some more interaction out of it. Probably the LinkedIn marketing gods are not happy with us.
Yeah, maybe not. Who knows? I mean, the obviously you've always got the element of being live, and then it's everybody who's kind of watching back and joining in during the time. But if there
Just
are,
checking. Yeah.
or for those recruiters and HR and TAs who are watching, even candidates who are watching, what's your favorite question to be asked, or what is your favorite question to ask? I would love to hear your thoughts. And as we're going through the questions as well, feel free to ask away. Let us know if you have some things on your side as well. You'd like to know, any questions you want us to address. And that's the beauty of being live.
Yep.
Exactly. What about cultural fit?
Hmm. Okay.
What's this is something we're often asked or perhaps challenged on, about the cultural fit. How do you check for cultural fit? How do you make sure somebody is really the right person culturally for a company?
Okay, well, I would go one step before that
Hmm.
and say, first I have to really know what the culture is.
Hmm.
And for that, I visit the company every time.
Hmm. Hmm.
So if it's not my own company like in-house, then I know it. Okay, it's a different
Hmm.
scenario. But
Hmm.
if I'm like I'm an agency recruiter, like an
Hmm.
external recruiter. I go and visit the company. I really have a look at the offices
Hmm.
and how they talk, how they walk, what the people look like there. See, are they like more in a modern kind of environment?
Hmm.
Is it more like a traditional kind of environment?
Hmm.
What is the language that's been spoken there, and so on? So first, I really have to know the culture,
Hmm.
and then I think I have a pretty good feeling when I talk to the candidate if he or she fits that culture. So that's the
Hmm.
first thing that I would do.
Yeah.
And then when I have them in the interview, I will from time to time kind of try to project the culture on them, like
Hmm.
use, like some language that the people from the company use, maybe
Hmm.
even a joke from time to time, and just check where are the boundaries or
Hmm.
aren't there boundaries at all, like
Hmm.
just see where this goes. I'm trying to be like one of those people from the company and then see what happens.
Yeah, I think I mean, it asks or begs the question of whether we as recruiters should work on requirements without actually having been and met the people and seen the environment, because how else can you kind of really sell the opportunity, sell the culture, the business? You get some words from the hiring manager, but you don't really feel it. So I think that's a really important thing.
Yep.
I think some good tips and advice that I would give about the cultural fit is also about understanding the candidate. So, to be able to kind of make that match, I think there's some great questions out there, like describe an environment where you can be really productive. What does that look like? Ask them to kind of visualize, tell you the things that they need to be productive from an environment. Or, for example, a question like, tell me about the best boss you've ever had, and why were they the best boss? And you can hear about some of the kind of things that are really important to them as an individual, the underlining kind of things that motivate them, that inspire them, and I think that's all linked as well to the culture. And you can also ask, questions like, what do you like about the environment and culture that you have today? And on the flip side, if you could change one thing about the environment or culture today, what would that be? And you start to build a picture together about what that person needs to be productive, what culture they need. I think these can really help to kind of shape from the candidate side if that's a right match from your perception of the company.
Yeah. I really like that aspect of what would you change? Like looking at your current situation, what would that one thing be that you would change immediately? Like stuff like that. Really, really like that approach.
I mean, you see it's a little bit of a theme in the kind of a red line through the way that I interview people. There's challenging questions that I ask to try to get that picture. It's coming back to the in hindsight, knowing what you know now. If you went back, what would you do differently? It's really about help. It's also part of a journey that a candidate is making. Then through the conversation with me, maybe they're also realizing, actually, you know what? This is really important to me, or I love challenging somebody who kind of sits there and it's everyone else's fault, and I say, okay, but what about you? What could you have done differently? And really making them think on that and reflect. But yeah, cool, good. All right, we've got a couple of questions coming in. Let me just see from Radwa. So the first question from Radwa is, let's see here. What is the most important feature that should be possessed by a technical recruiter from your point of view? So as a tech recruiter, Lucas, let me pass that one on to you first. What's the most important feature?
I think it's the human side of things. So when you're in tech recruiting, it's very tempting to just check for tech stacks. You just go through the list. Okay, so he has the right programming languages, the right frameworks. He knows a thing about unstructured data. Check. Yeah, that's a good one. And then you have only the icing of the cake. So it really starts there. I mean, this is just to me, this is just like the entry check. But then it really begins, and then it starts like with all the stuff that we have talked about so far: cultural fit, soft skill. The great techies are the guys that are providing the company with great soft skill. These are the guys who make the biggest careers, and this is what I am looking for. So I think that's the most important feature, to focus on the human behind the tech.
And I think it's a great answer, and it links us actually to the same question that Radwa had that I'd like to bring in and give a quick opinion on, and it's how deep should a technical recruiter know technically when interviewing? So basically, how much should a tech recruiter know about tech? And I'd like to grab this one if I can, and then maybe you can,
sure.
As a recruiter of recruiters. So, Radwa, I think it doesn't matter if it's tech, if it's finance, whatever it may be. Any technical knowledge is going to be a massive advantage. Going to bring a lot of credibility in front of a client. in front of a candidate, because you will have a certain level of understanding that perhaps a recruiter without that knowledge will have. But, and it's a big but, ultimately, we are experts in recruitment. We're not experts in tech. If we were experts in tech, we'd be in tech. Sure, it probably pays more money. I don't know, maybe. But the point is, we are experts in recruitment, and our job is to be able to find, attract, engage with certain talent, and to be able to bring them opportunities that are going to help further their career. So I always said, when I was training young recruiters and consultants in my teams, you know, because this was always a point of inferiority complex for a recruiter in any area. You know, you start as an IT recruiter 2 months in, 3 months in, whatever it may be, yeah, but I'm speaking to these people, I don't know anything about the tech. You have to learn it. You have to be curious. But ultimately, I think you need to position yourself as the expert in recruitment. There's somebody who can help that person from the recruiting point of view, interviewing techniques, tips, advice, CV. That's where your value is to that person, not about only your technical knowledge. But that's what I would say. I don't know if you want to add something or anything, any comments to that, Lucas?
It's perfect. That's a perfect answer. I 100% agree. Of course, you have to know about tech. It's very important. You really have to understand what the differences between the technologies are, which doesn't mean that you really have to be a programmer yourself. So I did a little, like course in Python just to, understand some principles. And I was always kind of a mathematics guy, so that was good. I've always been good with numbers and have a high intrinsic interest in it. But you don't have to be like the best programmer on earth or anything. You just really have to have an honest affinity and interest for the for tech, like for the topic that you work
subject
with.
matter that you're recruiting for,
Can be finance or whatsoever. It can be tech. Can be whatever, assurances, or I don't know. You really have to love it and have an affinity for it. But above all, as you mentioned, you are a recruiter and you are focusing on the essence that nobody else is laying a focus on. This is, again, it's the human, it's the soft skill, it's the cultural fit, all those topics. And you have to make sure that these are online with the company and the role.
Yeah. And I think, what you said about studying, Python and having that interest, that curiosity, I mean, already that puts you in the top 1% of recruiters in tech.
Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately, but it means it's such an easy step to make, to be in that percentage. Be interested, educate yourself, learn, be curious, to take those extra steps to be that expert that can make the difference in your career, and for other people. So,
I mean, I love tech and I have a high affinity for it. And what I do is I add my skill set to the tech community, and my skill set is recruiting. It's not writing a new software, it's recruiting. And I make sure that the right people writing software coming together. This is what I
and also, just to say, you can be a IT developer and end up being a recruiter. It doesn't mean you're going to be able to question a cybersecurity specialist or an infrastructure guy, network guy, to the levels of technical knowledge that your client or our clients would want to know and want to ask. So even if you are a tech, of course, it's going to give you a massive advantage and understanding of things, but you're still not going to be able to technically question on the same level as what your client needs for those specific needs in every area. So
it's way too complex, way too complex.
So Radha, thanks a lot for the questions. Hopefully that answered them.
We love questions. Thank you so much, Radha. I really appreciate your questions.
And feel free to ask the questions in. We love answering them. Still would love to hear what some of your favorite questions to ask are. Let us know what you like. So good. Then another question has come in from Kim. Let's see here. Wow. And these are good ones. I like this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if Kim's asking me, but no. The questions are: what would
He's
you do?
asking you.
No,
So
yeah,
come on, now you answer.
I don't know. We need to qualify that. So, first of all, Kim, are these the questions you like to ask, or you're asking me? So these are
He's
the things.
asking
Maybe.
you. You have to tell
Yeah,
us now.
I don't know. He's just no questions. So yeah. What would you do with an infinite amount of money? And what was your biggest fail in business? Love the questions, Kim. I think, yeah, infinite amount of money. I mean, this goes back, Lucas, to what we were talking about before of entering into a conversation, not a answer question. You know, you get people going into that creative part of their mind, of dreaming, of opening them up, different things. And yeah, biggest failure in business. What do you think about that one?
Biggest failure in business. Well, first, I love both questions. I was now thinking about the first one.
What you would do with the money?
Yeah, so now you kind of surprised me. But my biggest failure in business.
Now, what do you think about the question to ask a candidate?
Aha.
It's not about what you're. No.
It's good. Yeah, I mean,
These
are
are
nice
questions that Kim
questions.
likes to
Sure.
ask candidates.
These are nice questions. Oh, okay, now I get it. So if we would ask them, the candidates, it's nice, but to me, these two would be bonus questions. Like, to me, they seem a bit too constructed. You know, a bit like it's too much of a game. It's not like a natural question that I would be asking.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. Everyone has their own recruitment personality, right? And questions that you might use might not fit me and vice versa. I think it's important for people to have a recruitment personality. You know, I might not ask explicitly what's your biggest failure in business. I might talk about biggest challenges, but I also think, yeah, I mean, it's a good question to understand about somebody's career, about how open they are. You know, when we talk about soft skills, to self-criticize, to, you know, talk about different things. It allows you maybe to use some different methodology as well. So, yeah.
I mean, number two is basically the same question that you are asking, like your favorite question, like when you look behind, what would you have done differently?
Well, so, I think psychologically it's different in the wording. So I think because when you say to somebody, what's your biggest failure, you know, it has quite a negative connotation to it. Yeah. Whereas what I'm saying is, what could you do differently? It doesn't mean that you failed.
Sure.
Maybe, so I think there's different ways that you could, you know, you could say, what's your biggest regret? A lot of people like to ask that. What's your biggest regret? Or what was your biggest setback in business? Could be maybe a nicer way to say it, perhaps not.
Failure is a strong word, and maybe the person doesn't want to show like too much of a weakness, so it could evade that question, you know, like a little bit. Or exactly. Good point.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the question, Kim, or for sharing.
I thought that Kim was asking you the questions like directly, because it said like lead diamond. One, what would you do with an infinite amount of money? I'm still curious. I really want to know, Lee.
If I had an infinite amount of money.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big question. Off the top of my head, I mean, you know, I wouldn't talk about material things and whatever. I'd probably do the typical things that people would do. But I think where I am at the moment, I think that it would have to be something that really allows me to contribute to society, and probably combining my communication skills and my knowledge in recruitment. So if I on the spot had to chuck something together, I would create Lee's Recruitment School, and I would train and develop people to create new Quereinsteiger, or how do you say the Quereinsteiger? So create new opportunities for people that currently don't have a job, or however it may be, or the young graduates, train them into recruitment, help them understand, be fantastic recruiters, and then plug them into the recruitment world. Maybe something like that. I don't know.
You heard it, people. Throw some money at Lee.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
We need this.
Yeah, but for a talent pool which is massively lacking, and people out there that could do the job but just don't know about recruitment, I think could be fantastic. Yeah.
Nice.
There you go. So I'm going to copyright that as well somehow. All right, let's jump into the next question. Thank you so much for the questions and sharing. Feel free, add in questions. Let us know yours. Here's a good one. How do you warm up a cold or rigid interview? Do you have any special technique? You know, if somebody's really, not opening up or giving very short answers, or you find yourself being a bit bored, and it's like, this isn't really going the way I want it to go. How can I change the dynamics of this interview?
How do you do it?
For me, I have a couple of, and I'm so aware of this moment in the interview where it's like, okay, I'm bored. This is not, this is not the conversation that I'm looking to engage with. I'm not getting the responses I want. Normally what I do is, okay, somebody at my door, they can wait or go away. What I normally do is go away from the professional questions. My go-to question in this moment is, what are you passionate about outside of work? What gets you up in the morning? Because from that moment and that question, I hope I'm changing the, maybe it's a pressure thing or stress thing that somebody's not, not giving the answers that I want, or not coming out in the way that I want the conversation to go. And I think it allows somebody to answer a question that everybody knows the answer to. And if you're talking about something someone's passionate about, normally they should start opening up, being passionate. Hey, I love doing this, using words that now psychologically changing the conversation that we're having. And I can kind of dig in deeper. Oh, tell me more. Cool, brilliant. Let's, go more into that. I'm building now a bit of a personal rapport with the person. Maybe it's something I'm also passionate about or really like, and we can start to take the conversation in a different way. And then from there, maybe then I come back in and kind of revert after a couple of minutes or 5-10 minutes back into the interview process. But that's probably my go-to strategy to change the dynamics in an interview.
I do the same thing. I try to start talking about their expertise. Like maybe not apart from work. Maybe I stick a bit more with work topics, but I really start to dive deeper on their expertise. Like let's go back to tech recruiting. Let's say somebody's very interested in like front-end frameworks such as React. Okay, it's like a technology that is very popular. And then I just ask him, so what have you done with React? Like, what were the projects that you published using React? And then he will start telling me, and then he will start talking about things he likes, and then he gets into that flow kind of state. And I just try to talk about their expertise.
I think
works very good, very well.
I think my question on the personal side, I mean, again, that's my recruitment personality. I want to know somehow to build, relationships with people also on that kind of level as well. But I think that if you want to keep it professional, another great question can be, tell me, what are you most proud of in your career so far? It's a similar kind of emotional question that hopefully gets the person to warm up a bit, gets them excited, gets them smiling, and hopefully changes a bit of the dynamics in the conversation as well. So that's if I was keeping it more professional, let's say. Good. How are we doing time-wise? Yeah, we're slowly getting there. Another one that I'm often asked, always a tricky one. We've done a show about the candidate side of this. How to understand the salary expectations. It's the elephant in the room, as we say. It can be a really challenging one for both sides, right?
Elephant is my favorite animal, man.
Is it? There you go. So How do you have any techniques, any tricks? How do you go about understanding and let's talk about the true salary expectations, not necessarily just, okay, what do you expect? Yeah.
Well, usually my first question would be, what are your salary expectations? Give me a number.
Genius.
And then I just wait and I'm silent.
Yeah.
Until I get my number.
Okay. And then, but
I made by far the best experience just asking the simple question, very simple.
No. But what about, because we discussed this before as well, last week, I think it was. What about making sure that you're not excluding somebody based on the answer? Because I think people don't know how to answer this question. You know, they have their current salary, they have their expectations. Sometimes it's the same, sometimes it's different. People maybe give you a figure because they think it's the right figure to give you. It might not actually be their salary expectations.
Yeah, sure.
So
the next question, so the next question sometimes would be, so okay, what number would make you feel good?
Is that higher or lower than the expectations?
Mostly they can also be lower, because I mean, it's not the first question that I ask. It's in the last third or fourth of the conversation, but so mostly we have had some talk that went before that. So I can ask, if we have a role now that really ticks all your boxes. So everything is nice. You have nice people. You have a challenging environment that you love. You have great, like a company culture. You can go there by bicycle, stuff like that. What number would make you feel good then?
No.
And then the number most of the time is a bit lower than at first.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, exactly the same. If I have a range from somebody after asking the initial question, also you need to probe as a recruiter. You need to try to make sure that we're not missing out. And I would always phrase it in a sense of like you did exactly there. So once I've understood what someone wants, so if this position offers you these three things that you say that is really important to you, but is X amount lower than what you've saying your expectations, should we still approach you? Should we still give you a call? And it's about getting to that point, and then normally people would say yes. It's like, okay, so now we're on this kind of point of transparency together. At what point should I not call you, even if all of these things are right? And then I really feel like I get the true kind of lower number. And it's not about trying to get somebody at the minimum amount of money that,
No.
I think people maybe misunderstand recruiters on this. It's about not wanting to approach you about an opportunity that is not meeting your expectations financially, or on the other side, not missing out on an opportunity that would be, because of such a complex and tricky question that people still don't know how to answer and how to address, basically.
Sure. I mean, what we do in the end is we really help people to come up with a number. And it's a good thing to have a number. It's a very, very good thing. Or maybe let's say three numbers, like expected salary, desired, or like current salary, desired salary, and minimum salary. Maybe it's nice to have those three numbers because it really helps you to orientate, to have a compass, like to really find your way, and also to really tell people what you want. It's good to have those numbers, and if we can support people finding these numbers, I think it's also part of our job.
Absolutely. So, okay, we're coming towards the last couple of questions, but for those watching, please let us know if you have some questions, some comments. We'd love to engage with you in these last 10 minutes or so. Whilst I will go to another great question. How do you find out the true change motivation of a candidate? What do you do to really understand it?
Well, some people will never tell you. So it's all about the conversation atmosphere. You really have to build trust. I think that's the only way to find out, like, or to come close to the truest of change motivation of your candidate that you are interviewing. I think it's building trust. And we have talked about the techniques before that we use and the questions that we ask. And I think that's the most important thing. Otherwise, you will not get there.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. You know, we've covered a lot of the things during the conversation. I think, you know, I think there's important questions that we as recruiters need to ask as well, such as.
I can tell you how to not find out. To ask the candidate, what is your change motivation?
Yeah.
This is. He will tell you some bullshit answer.
Yeah, just the something aesthetically pleasing, exactly, or a surface. But I think if you would like a great question to ask in this, I mean, anyway, you're building a picture, you're having that dialogue, so that's where you're getting the information. Another kind of treat on top, let's say, is, you know, to say, ask a question like, if your current employer could change or could do something to keep you there and keep you happy, what would it be?
Yeah, that's good.
You know, it's a great, simple question, because somebody can really then, if you're in that mode of it's a conversation, it's an exchange, you have trust. At the end, that's a question where someone say, well, you know what, if this would happen and that would happen, I think I would stay. And then, you know, we need to know these things, because if we're taking someone through a process and they get a counter offer, we need to know, you know, what the true motivations are and were, in case a counter offer doesn't include those things. And then we can also help the candidate understand, but hold on, when we spoke, you said these two things are what would need to change for you to stay. They're just offering you more money. These two things stay the same, you know?
Exactly. If the counter offer is not ticking the important boxes, but they pay the candidate, like, let's say 5,000 francs more a year, and he goes for the counter offer, we did our job wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. But we can't win them all, let's say. Radba has another comment. Let's bring this in. Saying that she gets embarrassed to ask candidates what their current salary is, because she doesn't, because sometimes people don't want to mention it. And she asks about their expectations. I think, so the question is it, I guess the point is it okay for us to ask? And is it okay for people not to answer?
Yeah, sure. Everything is okay. So if you rather feel embarrassed about asking the question, then I can understand that the question bears some potential for embarrassment. I can understand this, but I have to say I'm far beyond that point. So I know that from, like, back in the day when I started interviewing candidates, I always had, like, you know, like a little anxiety about asking the question, but it's not anymore. It's very important information. We're now living in a time where we start writing the salary on job advertisements so that you can see it right away, and there is there is a tendency to more transparency. I'm not a big fan of full transparency in every way in any situation, but I'm just telling you. And I think it's super important information, because if you spend like 2 hours with the candidate, 2 hours with the customer, with the company, and then in the end everything is good, but you have not talked about the money, and then the deal doesn't get through, then you wasted your time. Big time.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a super important question. I always ask it, and it's important for me to know. I try to be very neutral about it, no emotions.
Respectful.
I just go for it like I would go for a notice fee or whatsoever. It's if candidates are not telling me their salary expectations, of course I accept this, but I always will let them know I cannot do the same good job for you as I could if I would know about it.
Yeah, I think it's very different country to country, and probably also within industries as well. I think as long as somebody's expectations are in line with their profile and experience, I guess it's okay. But I also think that if it can also be that someone is massively overpaid and they don't want to rule themselves out of an opportunity, and so it can be, really in both ways. But I think, again, it comes back to the things, Radwa, that we've been talking about. It's about building trust. It's about, having that exchange. And I think if you get there and can articulate why you need the information, but it's natural. It was the same for all of us starting out in recruitment in the first period of time, and something we get better at handling and doing. So yeah.
If somebody's very much overpaid, to me, everything is about can I say it? It's about management of Erwartungen. Expectation management. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. So I just tell them, okay, I tell you what, you are on the way upper end of your position and what the market shows, and that I can approach you with an opportunity that pays you more might probably happen once in 2 years.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, if you see there is anything that we can tweak a little and see, like, now we're back at the 3 boxes and stuff, and you know what I mean, what we talked before, then maybe there will be 1 opportunity a year or maybe even 2. So if you want to talk about this, feel free to let me know. And this is how I approach overpaid candidates.
Yeah. Perfect. Hey, then I think we can bring this session to a close. Thank you, everybody, for the comments, for watching, for taking part. Thank you, Lucas, as always, for co-hosting and being here with me. You're awesome. Keep rocking. And we wish everyone a fantastic Friday, lovely weekend ahead. And I'll see some of you live this time next week for a bit of a special live session.
Thanks, Lee. Yeah. Thanks for having me once again. I really enjoy being part of this, and you're such a great host. And thanks again for putting this up. And I love the trailer, by the way. It's amazing. And I'm a bit sad that I'm so happy with my job, because otherwise I would immediately run to you. You're just the man for rack to rack here in Switzerland. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Don't forget, we find great people who find great people. And the new slogan. All right. Hey, have a lovely day, everyone. Thank you, Lucas. And we see each other soon.